Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SaaS podcast. Today we have Dan Barak with us. Dan here runs a company called Blaze. Hey, Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Dan. So let's start with your company and product first, right? So, what does your product do, and why do customers pay you money?
Yeah, so TextBlaze, it's a Chrome extension. It's free, and the goal is to allow users to eliminate low-value work, starting with typing. So at the simplest form, users save text snippets of things they type over and over again and insert them anywhere using keyboard shortcuts. And they save hours of repetitive typing very, very quickly. It's free forever. It's very intuitive and easy to start using, and users love it. We have a perfect 5-star rating in the Chrome Web Store, and all the reviews are always, "Where was this all my life?" and so on. From there, from the simple yet powerful beginning, users can start automating larger portions of the workflows and really turn those snippets into mini productivity apps that are available for them anywhere that they do work. Still leave them in control, but allow them to automate the low value portions of the work.
All right, and who are you primarily selling it to? Are these end use? I'm trying to understand your end users. Are these are they using your product for personal use, or are these business customers? Who are these? Talk a bit about your
So
customers.
mostly people that use TextBase for work, very wide range of types of users. Kind of frontline users, support is a big vertical for us, sales, recruiting, admins and operation, but also we have a lot of people outside of the corporate world. So we have a lot of teachers, they use TextBase and people in education in general, a lot of people in healthcare, they use TextBase, and so on.
And would you consider yourself as somebody who's selling to businesses? Is that your business model? Is it a
Yeah,
B2B?
so very much product led, bottoms up. We acquire the individual user, and then there's a pro plan for individuals, but most of our revenue comes from the business plan, which is for teams and companies.
All right. All right. We'll come back to your growth story in a while. So I just want to get a sense of your customer base as of today. So just you can give me approximate number. So how many customers do you have on your platform as of today, and how many of them are paying?
Sure. So one way to look at the number of users that we have is you can look at the Chrome Web Store. They report a number. So we just very recently exceeded 200,000 users on the Chrome Web Store. Out of those, a portion are active, um, and from the ones that are active, about a quarter of our users are on a paid plan,
All right, that's around 50,000.
roughly.
Yeah, that's pretty great, I would say. Right. And can I ask your approximate revenue?
So we are in ARR. We're in the low single digit millions.
All right. That's a valid answer. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted to know. All right. And so just to understand your growth, how well are you growing? So where were you, let's say, 12 months before today?
So um, we roughly double or a little more than double year over year. From the number of users perspective, revenue grows slightly faster than that.
All right. That's pretty much it. So that now I got the context, right? So
Yeah.
now help me understand, right? So where you're getting all of these customers, right? So where are you discovering all of these new customers? So I want to understand your top of funnel first before we dive into your conversion and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about two things very quickly. The vast majority of our users come from word of mouth. And I can say a lot about word of mouth. Let me know how much you want me to expand on it. Word of mouth is often lumped in with referrals. We also do referrals, but those are very two different things with very different drivers. Um, Other than that, um, and word of mouth include people mentioning us on social media and so on. It also includes companies that instruct all new employees in specific roles to install TextBlaze. And then we also do SEO, and some other related initiatives.
All right. So it's not that simple, right? So you do SEO and people are coming to. I want to deep dive into this as well, right? So for example, you mentioned you're growing around 2x a year approximately. That means you've
A little
got like
more, a little
approximately.
faster than that.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll
Okay.
work with approximate numbers. That's totally okay, right? So you've got around 100,000 new users over the past 1 year, right? So can you quantify what is that single biggest channel that really brought you these 100,000 folks?
So by far, the single most important channel is word of mouth.
Okay.
These are people, and there's a lot that can be said about word of mouth. People tend to dismiss it because it's not very easy to measure. Um, but it's either people that discover TextBlaze, love it, like where was this all my life? This is amazing, and they can help themselves from telling their colleagues or friends or their community on social media. So that is by far our biggest driver. And there's a lot to be said about that because, our ideal user is the one that moves beyond the free version and become a paying customers. And we can talk more about that.
Yeah. So
Uh,
let's do that actually. So I want to sort of want to understand first, right? So when you say word of mouth, I know there are multiple ways that people can sort of listen about your product, right? So but how are you, right? So sort of controlling that aspect. I mean, you've got to be doing something right? So
yes.
what
Yeah.
is it that you're consciously doing there?
So, okay, so that's important. So what are we doing? I'll start simple and I'll expand.
Yeah.
We're creating the best product possible.
Sure.
And we're creating the best product possible for the user that first signs up and just wants to get the value and not worry about us too much.
Hmm.
And so I'll, and that is important because there's a difference between our top users and the users that just share and contribute to the word of mouth. Of course, our top users are the most excited and they contribute a lot to our word of mouth, but it's the everyday users that are not very sophisticated that drive word of mouth as well. And it's important because there's a trade-off between that sometimes and encouraging other growth channels that can be easier to measure. So,
Yeah.
for example, I can have a referral program, and we do. Can have a referral program. I can send emails. I can create incentives to get them to become paying customers, and so on. All of those can somewhat hurt the user experience of casual user.
Hmm.
And so we're investing a lot of time and effort and thought into how do we keep a casual user experience great so it doesn't hurt the word of mouth. And we sometimes hurt
No,
other
yeah. So I
potential
get that
customers.
you're nailing your value proposition and your
Yeah.
users are absolutely loving it. That's okay, right? But just I'm trying to understand what's that incentive, right? So for example, if I'm a user and I love your product, I'm using it on a regular basis. But why would I go and spread the word? You've got to be incentivizing me somehow, right? Or maybe you're doing
No,
something.
but
You.
that is the key.
Mhm.
That is the difference between word of mouth and referral, right?
Sure.
Like referral, and we have a referral program. We provide an incentive.
Mhm.
The incentive to do word of mouth for the most part is because you can't believe that your colleagues are not using this app. Like they should just use it because it's great and it's free and it adds so much value.
Mhm.
And that is what I think a lot of people get wrong because if I incentivize you, then some people that would otherwise refer me or, through word of mouth will not do it
Sure.
because there's an incentive program.
S-
Because I tell them, please do it, I'll pay you. They will not do it.
Yeah.
And so that is key. Most of our growth
So
comes from users that are not incentivized to drive it.
all right. So you're saying apart from building an amazing product, you're literally doing nothing to sort of make
I'm
that.
doing a lot.
I
I'm
know. So,
doing a
so
lot.
what what
But
is
I'm
it that you're
all,
doing?
but I'm also always trading it off against the initial
Sure.
user experience and the value proposition and how that extra growth channel can hurt that initial thing.
No, I understand. I'm not talking about your other growth channels. I'm talking about your pure word of mouth success that you've been experiencing so far, which almost drives 50% of your, it's driving a lot, right? So now the question
Yeah.
is, apart from building an amazing product, is there anything that you're consciously doing apart from obviously not doing, not investing in other growth channels that is, sort of giving you this huge success?
Yeah, so there is so after I made that point, there's some so the multiplayer, of course, is a big driver of that as well. Um, we TextBlaze by definition is very personal, like it allows you to automate your work. Multiplayer is not that natural of an expansion, but we do allow snippets to be shared. You can turn them into like shared documents where multiple people can collaborate on the same snippets. And that really helps because that allows teams to align and we allow it
And
on the
do you
freelance
have
pro.
any powered by something like that on that plan?
No, because snippets, we try that. We want to create as much virality as possible, but again, like people can use snippets not, for example, to send full emails or full messages. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's just a sentence
Yeah.
within an email. So we can't inject power by
Yeah.
TextBlaze anywhere. We looked into that. Um, but we do allow multiplayer where you can collaborate on shared snippets. So that really allows teams to use TextBlaze as kind of the data blaze of how, the database of
Yeah.
how they communicate with customers.
But is that the primary driver, or is it just working as a secondary one?
It does drive it, and so it does drive word of mouth. It also helps people adopt the business plan
Mhm.
because that's a huge value proposition for teams and companies. Being able to align on shared language, being able to help new members of the team onboard faster.
Yeah.
So it does drive growth, but admittedly, it's not the main driver. The main
Sure.
driver is just this is great. I'm going to share it with
So
my
there's no secret here. All right.
no.
So before
Well,
we
I think that that's the secret. Like,
all right. So before we close this top of funnel discussion, I just wanted to understand one thing, right? So when you say word of mouth, right? So what are those primary distribution channels that people use to sort of spread the word? Do you know about those?
so it's mostly people within work. They just turn around and tell their colleagues. And again, like I think that a big one is when, and that happens regularly, is when it kind of become one of the standard tools that a team use within the company. So anyone that joins the team immediately gets onboarded. And then when someone leaves the team, goes to another company, they're already used to TextBlaze. They get that team to adopt it. Um, I also so another top of funnel channel is SEO. Um, and I'm happy to share some of
And
my
so I actually, so in the light of time, I want to kind of
yeah,
move on to your conversion part and how you're sort of selling it to teams, right? So
yeah,
one question here. So you mentioned you got around 50,000 paying users on your platform, right? How
more.
many? Yeah, approximately. And how many teams do you have? How many unique businesses?
In the thousands.
In the
Yeah.
thousands. All right. So help me understand. So as of today, what's your primary focus? Is it sort of growing those businesses, right? Or are you just looking to sort of bring in more users? Or I mean, my question is it a self-serve model, or do you have sales reps in your team who are constantly chasing all of these free users in your free plan, and then are you sort of landing and expanding within a company? How's that whole funnel looking like?
So currently we're still very much product focused and driving top of the funnel, acquiring the users because we know and we see from experience that we monetize pretty well. Like the self sign up from companies work pretty well. We are, as we grow and evolve, we are starting and we will start investing more in the sales effort, the enterprise sales effort, but our main focus is just user growth and growing that funnel
Mhm.
because we'll talk
Yeah.
more about it. We convert pretty well.
Sure, we'll come into that. And so,
Yeah.
do you have any sales reps on your team as of today who are
No,
chasing this interview? You don't.
I'm the one doing most of it.
All right,
That will
that makes
probably
sense.
change in the next few months, but it's
Sure, sure. All right. So to talk about conversion, right? So once somebody discovers your product somehow magically, right? What happens after that? How does your conversion look like?
So let's talk about what does convert. So TextBlaze is free forever.
Sure.
The free and we have companies with thousands of users that are all on the free plan. So that exists as well. While the free version is somewhat limited in functionality, but what typically happens is, you have an individual user for a company that starts using it, and then they, through word of mouth, tell their team, and then you have a situation where a team uses TextBase as the database of how they cook. We have also have a product called Database. That's why I get confused. As the database of how they communicate with customers. And then managers become interested. Why do they become interested? They want one to unlock the more advanced functionality and unlock more productivity and consistency in language and so on. So that's important for them. And that a lot of it is facilitated by the pro plan or the business plan. The other reason is that managers want to have some oversight and control. So in many instances, they want to control some of the communication centrally, and understand how their team communicates and be able to kind of adopt best practices. And that is all facilitated by the business plan, including central team management and central billing and so on. And so that's why they will upgrade to the business plan. So it's the additional features, but it's also kind of centralizing the team communications and ensuring consistency and accuracy.
Sure. And so in terms of onboarding, right? So once somebody starts a free plan with you, right?
Yeah.
And once a bunch of people in their own team sort of starts using it, is there something that you do to sort of move that entire team or company to a paying plan, or does that again happen naturally as of today?
So we do a little bit on the team level, but we focus a lot on the individual level. So when they first sign up, there are multiple touch points that help them discover the full value of TextBase and how to unlock it. Um, as part of that, we also show them the benefits of the company plan. So that includes in-app notifications about kind of more advanced features, including
Yeah.
collaboration and things like that. Emails that include the same. We have guides on the page, but we also have a gallery. And that gallery we focus on specific verticals, on specific ways people use TechBase, and we show them examples of how TechBase is being used, including kind of user stories of companies that are using it and so on. So it's different touch points. Some are more push, some are more pull, but they're all designed to help them understand the full value
Sure,
that
sure.
TechSpace
So, but
provides.
what all of these initiatives do is eventually help your user gain value from your product. That I think
Yes.
you're doing, but the reason that they would move to a paid plan is because of all of these features you mentioned, right? That a manager wants to control in a centralized fashion, all of those things, right? And that can happen only if you are sort of somehow talking to that manager and showing him the value, as opposed to teams or individual members, right? So, is there something that you do there?
No, so and that's a challenge with product-led companies. We don't, we're starting to explore more ways to do more of that.
Mhm.
But that's the thing. Like we have our user is like the rep,
Yeah,
right? And they get a lot
exactly.
of value. We don't have a relationship with the manager. We don't know who the manager is. And until you start doing enterprise sales and kind of trying to navigate your way around the company, um, that is difficult. So what we do is we go to the individual rep, to our user. We show them the value of the business plan with the hope
Yeah.
that they will reach out to their manager and share it with them. But we don't target them unless the manager is a
Sure,
user as
sure.
well. We don't target them specifically.
So Dan, so what next, right? How are you gonna go from lower, a million range of ARR to, let's say, how are you gonna 10x your sort of overall ARR? Looks like closing these big deals is your is your only way forward to sort of grow 10x, right? So how are you gonna do that, and
So,
what's your initial?
So, to get to 100 million ARR, you need to start doing enterprise sales, but there's
Sure.
a lot that you can do in the bottoms up as well. So, right, so what are next steps for me? We're going to do both. One is invest more in the top of the funnel, the user, and acquiring more users and accelerating growth. That is mostly focused on the product and adding more of those building blocks that people can use to
Mhm.
stitch together and create their own mini productivity apps. So just increase the value that people are getting from TextBlaze. And then we're going to start doing more of the kind of top-down enterprise sales effort. Some other,
It's similar to how Slack ended up doing it, right? So
I think every product-led
led growth. Yeah.
growth company,
Yep.
when done well, they all start with kind of just individual users and converting them through self sign up, and then eventually you start doing enterprise
So
sales.
have you started these initiatives already? Do you have any initial?
Yeah.
So
We started.
how's it been working so far?
No, it's working great. The main bottleneck is, as I mentioned before, just finding the right decision maker and getting in touch with them. Once you do that, it's not a difficult sell. The team is already using TextBase. They already see the value. There's not a long onboarding process that
Yeah,
they need to go through.
sure.
It's just telling them, hey, you can do more. The way we typically do it is we give them a free trial, a free pilot of the business plan. We help them onboard. We, make sure that they're getting the as much value as possible for a month or so, and then sell the actual sale becomes very natural.
Got it. So all right. So that makes a lot of sense. So let's wrap this up. All right. So let's talk about your company, right? How many folks on your team as of today?
So about 10 people, fully remote, we all over the world, really. So we work very much asynchronously. That's why we want to stay kind of as small as focused and nimble for as long as possible, because growing a remote team has its own challenges.
And how many on the founding team?
So, the Scott and I are the co-founders of the company, and we consider everyone out of the 10 that are part of
You
the team
you
today to
you,
be part
you
of the
do you
fund.
do. And when did you start the company?
What's that?
When did you start the company?
So that's the origin story is very interesting. Scott actually started the company. Scott is my co-founder and CTO. We worked together at Google. He's an engineering manager. I was a product manager. He started TextBlaze as kind of as a side project um, 4 years ago, and just grew it as a side project. I was advising him while I was still working at Google, and then almost 2 years ago, I left Google and joined him full time. And then we went through Y Combinator and raised our seed round and so on.
Right. And okay, that talks about your funding. And so going forward, what's your so are you gonna raise any venture based funding, or how are you gonna scale this company going forward? What's your vision?
So we will raise our next round probably in the next year or so, and that will be invested in three ways. First of all, accelerating our product roadmap. There's a lot that we want to do. We don't have time to discuss it, but like again,
Yeah.
it's adding more and more of those building blocks. The other one is more enterprise sales, as we discussed, and related efforts. The nice thing is once you have enterprise sales and you close those bigger deals, the average LTV of a user grows with it. And then that opens up the door for like paid marketing, which is something that we're not today. And that allows
You
you to
don't really
scale.
have to, right? I mean, you've got all of those leads just sitting out there. You just got to pick the right person and they just close the deal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
But
you don't
then
really need paid marketing to sort of for that top of funnel lead generation, anyways.
you don't need it, but it is a way to accelerate growth. We don't do it today because, again, like the LTV of a random user that signs up to the
Yeah,
free plan is pretty low.
yeah.
But if you convert more of them and larger deals, then you can accelerate the user growth through paid marketing.
All right, Dan. That's pretty amazing. It was nice talking to you. Hope you scaled TextBlaze to much greater heights.
I hope so too. I appreciate it.